Hi, I'm Mary Lyons, the Wealth Woman. Welcome back to New School Millionaire. I'm excited you're here today. Today, we're going to confront ways that our preconceived notions might influence the choices we make with our money. As I've said countless times, and will continue to say over and over again, mindset is one of the most important things that we can control when we are looking at the choices and the way that we plan to make those choices with our money. Here's the thing. We all have preconceived notions, and those preconceived notions have a big impact on what we actually do and the decisions that we make. If you think about the world of knowledge that exists, there are things that we know we are experts in. There are also things that we're aware we don't know. And then there are the blind spots, the things that we're just not even aware of. And it's easy to look at that and say, well, it's the blind spots that are going to trip me up, or it's the things I don't know that are going to cause a problem. But in my experience, the thing that actually causes the most problems are the things that we believe to be true that aren't actually true. So what do I mean here? Well, we're actually going to play a game in order to illustrate this point. So I want you to think for just a second about having a bunch of money sitting in the bank. Feels really good, feels really nice. And we decide that we are going to use that money to go pay cash to buy a car. As I'm filming this video, interest rates are higher than they've been in a long, long time. And the idea of financing a very expensive car, because inflation means that car prices have gone up as well, is really not an exciting prospect. So let's just say, for the sake of argument, that we're going to buy a $50,000 car. And we happen to have saved that much money up in the bank. So we decide to walk down into the banking branch, and we say to the teller, I'd like to make a withdrawal today for $50,000. I am getting ready to go buy a car. And I think walking in with the cash is going to make a difference. I think they'll negotiate with me differently. I think they'll make sure to sell me the car rather than someone else, because I could pay for it on the spot. And the teller gets kind of wide-eyed and said, we actually don't keep that much cash on hand, but let me go ahead and get the manager and she'll come out and chat with you. So the manager comes out from behind her desk and says, I understand that you'd like to withdraw $50,000 from the bank today. Well, I don't know if you're aware of this, but this is how banks work. When you deposit $50,000 here with us, we can actually loan that $50,000 out 10 times, maybe even more, depending on the type of account you have. So when you take that money out of the bank and you take it off of deposit, you really cripple our ability to make a profit. We're going to make you a special deal. I know that's just been sitting in your checking account, not really doing much for you. So we're going to move you over to a special account where you can earn 4%. 4% is a good rate right now. I know there may be some other banks who can match that on a money market account, but you're already here. So we'll just slide that right over. We'll put it into an account earning 4%. But I know you still need to buy that car. We are a lending institution. So we're going to go back to the vault and pull out $50,000 of the bank's money, and we will make that loan to you. And you can go buy your car, but we're going to charge you 6% in interest. So we're going to give you 4% in interest on your $50,000. We expect you to give us 6% in interest on our $50,000. And I promise you're going to come out ahead. Do you believe the banker? Your first instinct is probably to say no, but in fact, the banker is telling the truth. What? Let's actually prove that. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen real quick so that you guys can actually see what I see, and we're going to do the math to prove this out. Let's start with the money that is sitting at the bank. If we have $50,000, and we said the bank could give us 4%. Here's the disclosure saying interest rates can fluctuate. At a 4% interest rate, let's look at what happens over the next 5 years. Since a typical car note is about 5 years long, that's what we're going to use for this example. $50,000 earning 4% over the course of this time period means that the bank will actually pay you over $11,000 for leaving your 50 grand sitting at the bank, so that at the end of 5 years, you have $61,000. Now, if you're looking at the graph, what you might notice is that the number that you get paid in interest the first year is actually smaller than the amount of interest you get paid in year 2. And every year that you leave money at the bank, the amount of interest that's being credited to your account is getting bigger, even though the interest rate is staying at 4%. That's because more of your money is earning each year. So if the first year you earn $2,000 in interest, the next year, instead of just having $50,000 earning for you, you have $52,000 that's earning interest at 4%. This is compound interest. Now let's look at what happens with the loan. We said that the interest rate the bank was going to charge you was 6%. $50,000 at 6% means in that very, very first year, the bank is going to charge you about $2,700. But what you'll notice is that each year, the amount of interest that the bank is charging you goes down pretty substantially. That's because a bank can only charge you interest on money that you owe. Once you start paying down the balance, they can only charge you interest on the smaller and smaller balance. So that over the course of 5 years, the total amount of interest that you pay to the bank is just at $8,000. Not quite, but almost $8,000. Now, this is a bit of a shocker because the loan started at the same amount as your deposit. But as the loan balance shrank, you paid less and less and less in interest to the bank. Meanwhile, the money that you left sitting there was earning more and more and more interest. We have been trained by institutions to focus almost exclusively on rate of return and rate. The problem with focusing exclusively on rate is that you miss the bigger picture of flow. So if you had actually done it this way, you would pay the bank about $8,000. Meanwhile, the bank would pay you $11,000, resulting in a spread of just over $3,000. Can you believe it? The banker actually was telling you the truth. Now, what I'll tell you is that I have asked this particular question and played this game thousands of times over the course of my career, and I can count maybe on 2 hands the number of people who actually got this question correctly. If you were one of those people, take a minute and pat yourself on the back. If not, welcome to the vast majority. And I'm going to leave you with a question that I hope you will really think deeply about. When you jump to conclusions, even when they seem like very logical conclusions, remember, 6 is bigger than 4. We learned that in kindergarten. So we instinctively think the math looks a certain way. But when we jump to conclusions, frequently we jump to the wrong conclusion. This is why an evidence-based approach is so important. And I'll ask you to question for yourself, where else might you be jumping to conclusions about your money? And if you open your mind to a different possibility, and we can actually prove that things work in a different way when you focus on income creation and flows of money, what possibilities might emerge for you and your family?